I notice that when people solve their so-called physical problems, when, for example, you didn't have enough money, and then you get enough money, then you start worrying about your health. And then, of course, you can take reasonable precautions about your health. You can get the right shots and immunizations and so on. But there's absolutely no way whatsoever of foolproof avoidance of accidents. Despite the best predictions of physicians, you can always get heart trouble suddenly, or kidney trouble or something. And there is no safety. And therefore, going along with realizing that you quite ordinarily do transact the affairs of life in this through your unconscious intelligence, you also realize there is really no way of protecting yourself. And an enormous amount of energy you use to protect yourself is completely wasted. In other words, you may discover through becoming aware of your own body that you're in a constant state of tension, as if ready to jump, ready to defend yourself, or even you're trying to hold your body together. Charlotte Selver finds that when she gets people to lie on the floor and relax, they can't do it because they are in fact trying to hold their bodies together in the fear that if they didn't, they would disappear into a kind of jello and slop all over the floor. And all that, you see, all that constant sense of I should control what's going on is completely wasted energy, for the simple reason that conscious attention is not really the effective controlling force in your life. It's merely the lookout. It's merely an information source which warns the organism as a whole of unusual features of the environment, unusual changes. That's why conscious attention tends to notice things that move rather than things that are relatively still. Why it tends to notice figures rather than backgrounds. Because it is the radar of the organism, it is the troubleshooter. And if you identify yourself with your troubleshooter, well then you become one-sided and you become a perpetually anxious person. Whereas on the other hand, if you see that you are identified principally not with that troubleshooter, but with the whole organism, then you become identified rather with that aspect of your being which is in a constantly harmonious relationship to its environment. We can, of course, explore at another moment in the seminar those peculiar times of relationship to the environment when the organism is being burnt up in a forest fire or something of that kind, and how it responds to all those changes of circumstance that are, as we say from the relative point of view, destructive to the organism. But actually the organism and the environment are not two things. The environment is not the enemy of the organism, nor is the organism the enemy of the environment. Their behavior goes together in a constant and rhythmic expression of the greater organism, of which they are both aspects. And the more your vision is widened, and the more you live from that point of view, the more you see the total lack of necessity of being on the defensive all the time. Furthermore, as soon as you're not on the defensive and not trying to hold on to your control of life, by reason of the greater energy available to you, and by reason of your, I would say, basically friendly and cooperative and open attitude to other people, you are, by this non-defending attitude, much better protected than you would otherwise be. Because it's people who've got a chip on their shoulders and who are on the defensive who are always troublemakers. Whereas people who are, generally speaking, friendly to whomever they relate, don't get into difficulty very easily. They don't create difficulty. It's the same thing as cats. When cats fall, cats are relaxed and therefore don't get hurt. And so my father once, when he was a young man, was suddenly slipped on a staircase. It was a very steep one, and fell down, and it happened so quickly he didn't have time to resist. And therefore he wasn't hurt at all. This, you see, is the principle of falling in judo. You learn to fall in a certain kind of cat-like, heavy, loose way. And so when you get thrown, you don't get hurt. And experts can fall on concrete and still not be hurt. Not just on padded mats and things like that. So all this comes about not so much through a system or effort, but it comes about through a clear understanding of what your situation actually is. Face the facts. We talk, you know, of facing facts as something difficult. Preachers and politicians are always talking about hard facts and down-to-earth realities, as if they were something very unpleasant that we had to wake up to. But I would rather say that the facts of our situation in the world aren't so bad. I mean that if we did arrive at the facts, we would find that many things that we call hard facts and difficult problems are simply the result of not facing the facts, of not seeing what our situation is, of not realizing that we are completely vulnerable, and there's no way of being otherwise. We are unprotected, and that however protecting ourselves is not the way of life that evolution has favored. You see, contrast the mollusks and the mammals. The mollusks have hard shells on the outside and the soft flesh inside the shells. The mammals have the soft flesh on the outside and the hard bones in the middle of the flesh. Now this species is more viable biologically because it is more sensitive. And so it's found that this is why we abandoned armor in warfare, because it so constricted motion and so reduced vision and sensibility and speed of movement that it really didn't work out. And so in the same way, you can think of the disastrous French experiment of trusting in the Maginot Line. What a flop that was. And all elaborate defense systems are illusions. They don't work. Because life is basically lived as an act of faith. It is an adventure into the unknown. So to the degree you see that you come to your senses and see that's the way things are, whether you like it or not. This realization alone is the greatest help in actually attaining the attitude of let-go-ness and the understanding of let-go-ness and all the new energy that comes with it.